Con, protesting the national anthem in the land of the free, by Tribune Company, adapted by Newsella staff, 10/12/16. Richard Robinson, 33, and Antoine Bethia, 41, of the San Francisco 49ers raised their fists in protest during the national anthem before a football game against the Dallas Cowboys at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, on October 2, 2016. Photo Ezra Shaw, Getty Images. Pro. Pro players exercising their right to protest. In August, football player Colin Kaepernick started refusing to stand for the national anthem. Many people spoke out against the San Francisco 49ers player. Their reaction gave life to an important discussion about race, class, and violence in this country. Then, something surprising happened. Many in the sports world supported Kaepernick's right to protest. They supported him even as they continued to stand for the Star Spangled Banner. Chip Kelly, Kaepernick's coach, is one of those supporters. He said that his quarterback's decision was his right as a citizen, not the first to protest. Kaepernick is not the first professional athlete to stand up for racial equality. The sports world's best athletes have often led by example. In 1967, professional boxer Muhammad Ali spoke out against the Vietnam War. In 1968, African American runners Tommy Smith and John Carlos led a protest against racial inequality at the Summer Olympics in Mexico. At the medal ceremony, they both raised a black gloved fist in the air, known as the Black Power salute. This gesture is a sign of support for African Americans. A half century ago, the St. Louis Cardinals were one of the best teams in baseball. Hall of Fame pitcher Bob Gibson once called the Cardinals a rainbow coalition of baseball. Their roster not only included black and white players, but Latinos too. In 1968, when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, Gibson got into a serious conversation about racial equality with his catcher, Tim McCarver. Gibson is black and McCarver is white. Years later, McCarver wrote, Bob and I reached a meeting of the minds that morning. That was the kind of talk we often had on the Cardinals. We need that kind of direct, honest talk again. Getting punished for positions. Many sports stars in the 1960s were punished for taking a public stand. Smith and Carlos had their Olympic medals taken away, and Ali was banned from boxing for years. It took the country years to acknowledge their courage and wisdom. President Barack Obama recently said that Smith and Carlos created opportunity for future generations. We find ourselves in a similar moment today, and a growing number of athletes and coaches realize it. They are urging us to do better as a nation. It will be our loss if we refuse to listen. About the writer. Tim Wendell is the author of 11 books and is the writer in residence at Johns Hopkins University in Washington, D.C. The opinions expressed in this text are of those of the author and do not necessarily represent the views of Newsella. Con. Athletes should not insult the national anthem. Americans of all kinds have always been able to escape life's troubles by watching sports. San Francisco 49ers Colin Kaepernick may change that. Kaepernick is not the first athlete to mix politics and sports. For example, at the 1968 Summer Olympics in Mexico City, runners Tommy Smith and John Carlos were expelled for holding up a black gloved fists during the national anthem. Kaepernick is not even the only athlete to make a political statement this year. In July, there was a stir in the Women's National Basketball Association when players for the Minnesota Lynx wore Black Lives Matter t-shirts before a game. People who support the Black Lives Matter movement believe that some police and courts treat black people unfairly. 4 security officers walked off the job, staging their own protest in response. Kaepernick is more well known, though. His actions have encouraged similar protests everywhere, from high schools to professional leagues. Some have voiced their support for Kaepernick. The general public may have a different view, however. So far this fall, viewership for the National Football League (NFL) is down, and a recent poll says Kaepernick is the most disliked NFL player. Is America to blame? I do not question someone's First Amendment right to express their views. However, I do question the wisdom of the target that these athletes have chosen. By protesting the national anthem, they are protesting America. It is true that America at times has failed to live up to its ideals. It has also made progress over time, though. There have been some tragic events lately involving black men and the police. However, America did not cause these tragedies. They are local incidents involving local people. Some police officers may have failed the African American community, but most Americans are outraged. They want those responsible to be held accountable. Finding other ways. If famous athletes want to make a difference, there are better ways than protesting the national anthem. Both Kaepernick and the 49ers recently announced they will be donating to charities that focus on racial issues. Maybe that should have been their first response. If some athletes continue to kneel during the national anthem, those of us who still take pride in America should stand a little taller. Playing the national anthem is a time for patriotism, not politics. About the writer. Merrill Matthews is a resident scholar with the Institute for Policy Innovation in Dallas, Texas.